I usually create our intro after filming the podcast, and that's exactly what I'm doing today. You do not want to miss this with our guest today, Dr. Robb Kelly. And I always remind everybody to remain a student because we got great teachers out there. I've worked in the industry for almost 20 years, and because I keep my ears and my eyes open, there isn't a single person that I interact with who doesn't bring something to the table. Every client I work with teaches me something. And for those who think that I've been in recovery for a long time and I don't hear anything that I haven't said or heard before, so what am I learning? I'm going to tell you that you haven't listened or looked close enough. Sometimes it can be as simple as a new perspective. Now, I want to mention a couple of podcasts that I think are worth listening to. Now, I had a guest a while back, Richard Kaufman, who hosts Vertical Momentum Resiliency podcast. And it says that their podcast is to let people know that their past does not dictate your future. And you can go to verticalmomentumpodcast.com to check it out. I also want to mention my co-host on Walk a Mile in My Shoes podcast, Lona Curry. It's called Recovery Soul Food. Now stay tuned for Dr. Robb Kelly, and we're going to be right back.
Trapped in a tree.
Hey, my name is Eric McCoy, and this is High While Clean. I want to say real quick, I love getting high, and I want to remind everybody that just because you get clean and sober doesn't mean you stop getting high. We do it differently. The only reason that you feel highness from a chemical is because you already possess it. The coolest part about how I get high today is that there are no side effects, it's free, and it's legal. Today is no exception, and I have a guest today that I am going to get high with. And, I want to say something real quick, and as our regular listeners know some of my story, anybody that, of course, has read Pain, Failure, and Misery Are the Stepping Stones to Success, you'll know quite a bit more of my story. Meth was that potion that brought Mr. Hyde out, but there are actually very few substances that I haven't really abused at one point in time of my life. Whether it be alcohol, opiates, cocaine, sedative hypnotics, and even tried not to come down from hallucinogens like LSD. Obviously didn't have much success with that. Tolerance, withdrawal, isolation, incarceration, financially broke, homelessness, and the stigma that society puts on us. If anybody saw our podcast with Kalichi, and of course I think he said it best, as he saw in posts that he had, that people saw us as useless, waste of society. We should be brought into a back alley and put out of our misery. Now, those I think are quite a bit of a buzzkill. Now, combine that with our friends or acquaintances that keep dying in record numbers. There's something different we can do, and it requires a slightly altered perception. I think looking at the world a little bit differently, and finding exactly the same thing that we're looking for in drugs or alcohol. Emotional stability, feeling good. Now, what does that take? Well, love yourself. I guess today it's going to bring us more knowledge and information to consider. And all you really need to do to begin with is to remain a student. So I got Dr. Robb Kelly, who's a Ph.D. As I was kind of going over his information, I think you did way too much schooling, 2 PhDs.
I know. Typical alcoholic.
Yeah, I'm going to post all of his contributions with various shows that he's been on. I know, like The Doctor, Good Morning Texas, Ken's 5 Morning News. He's also contributed to Miracles and Recovery USA Today, also a study on the stigma associated with mental illness. Dr. Kelly has hosted Sober Celebs show on KLIF radio in Dallas, currently hosts the Breaking Through Addiction podcast, and he has created Let's Get Back to 98% Recovery, which are DVDs that are used in prisons and recovery treatment centers throughout the United States. He lectures on addictions and trauma at universities, national conferences, treatment facilities, public schools, churches, business organizations, and hospitals. He's currently the CEO of the Robb Kelly Recovery Group. That's a addiction and mental illness recovery coaching company. He's also the author of a book titled Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. He's also, again, like I said, I think done a ridiculous amount of school, Ph.D. in psychology, Trinity College, Oxford University, Ph.D. in psychology from University of Southampton, nationally certified recovery coach, somatic experience practitioner certified, certified life coach, certified neurolinguistic programming practitioner, certified international interventionist, and certified brain spotting practitioner. Tried to do it all in one breath. And I quit smoking, so that actually helped. So, how you doing, man?
Eric, great to be here, man. Hi, guys. Good to see you. Just pointing out my first PhD is psychology, but my second PhD is behavioral science under the heading. So if you heard, Eric was right when he said 2 PhDs in psychology, but the second one was behavioral science, which I absolutely love when it comes to addiction.
Yeah. Now, I know, and we don't necessarily have to get too much into this, you obviously have information on substance abuse yourself. If you just kind of wanted to just give a real quick synopsis of your experience.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm an alcoholic myself. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Took my first drink at the age of 9. So I know all about this disease. I know all about the suffering. Same as you, Eric. Lost kids, lost everything, end up homeless, begging on the streets. And my journey back has been phenomenal. When I finally got off the streets, and I'm one of those guys. I believe in what the science tells me. I'm a neuroscience guy and a quantum physics guy and a behavioral scientist. Is that when you stop drinking and using drugs, you can have anything you want back. You can have anything you want in life. Quantum physics tells us this. So my journey back was always aggressive and was always going to be the person I am today, because we kind of have 2 lives in addiction. We have, first life that we mess up, and then our second lives. So we're the only people in the world that get 2 lives in one lifetime. And for me, the second one coming back is there's no holds barred. What are you going to do? I mean, I signed an office lease in Dallas a couple of years ago for like $1 million, and everybody was freaking out. It's like, what can you do to me that's not been done to me already? I'm taking these chances. I'm living life, to the full. I had a saying on the streets when I got off. I used to dream of living. Now I'm living the dream, and everybody can do it. So I've been in the industry for 35 years. I've in and out. I've worked with over probably 8,000 people over the last 35 years, leading them to recovery and relationships with higher powers, and just relationships with families, getting the kids back, getting the houses, cars, wife, husband, jobs. I make it all exciting while we're doing it, because this is amazing. Once you put the drink and alcohol down and the drugs down, you can go on to do some amazing things. So I have to be living proof of that, and so I am. And here I am today, all happy to be here.
Yeah. No matter where you've been or what you've done, you can do anything you want if you're willing to fight for it.
100%, 100%. What you can imagine and think you can hold in your hand. The vision of that's quantum physics, and the actual mechanics and the neuroscience of the disease and who we are. Alcoholics slightly different from drug addicts. Alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. It's going to blow people's minds, but that's how it is. There's 3 parts of the brain with the alcoholic brain that show up similar, present themselves similar as drug addicts. So we are all the same in that fact. But yeah, there's 3 parts of the brain that differ. And once we correct those and we have that psychic change, spiritual awakening, our DNA changes.
My story, and a lot of people I've worked with over the years, obviously being incarcerated, I'm a 6-time convicted felon. And it's something that, for me was a big passion. I loved working with alternative sentencing. And that was something, and that saying that I said was, no matter where you've been or what you've done, you can do anything you want if you're willing to fight for it. Because I believe, that so many people hold themselves back
Oh,
with I'm a felon, who's going to hire me? What am I going to do?
it's so true, and I hear this time and time again. It's bullshit is what it is. And it's bullshit thinking, but it's wrong. And God bless the guys that are still there, but we can help you the way out. Me and Eric of this program is going to be an amazing program. We'll show you the way out of that thinking, because that's what we want to do. I know people that are friends of mine that are running huge multi-billion-dollar companies that hire felons. Myself, we only hire felons. So if you want to come in my company and be a therapist, then, we're the guys. If we're hiring, the guys. So there's loads of places that don't. So yeah, that mentality of poor me has to stop. Because I grabbed hold of that for 10 years and ran with that. And the only thing that happened to me is I relapsed. That's what happened to me. So when you look at the neuroscience of this, the alcoholic addicted brain or the drug addicted brain is far more superior than the normal brain. So when you come out of that fog of that drinking and self-sabotage, because alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, by the way, and the same with drugs. It's all about self-sabotage and trauma. Once I correct that and get out of that, yeah, you can do anything you want. Of course you can. And if you're in an area that nobody's hiring, start your own company. Then start hiring felons or start hiring ex-alcoholics and drug addicts. They're amazing people, just like us.
I love that. Hire felons only.
It's right. It's like, why wouldn't you? If I look at the normal person that comes to me for a job, he's probably 1,000 jobs before. If I look at somebody who's been there, done it, been to prison, had all them life experiences, then turn the life around, they're the guys that I want to hire because they're 100% in. I'm still of the mindset, because I'm 61 now, so I don't give a shit. You shouldn't be saying that. It's like, yeah, give me a break. I'm almost out of here, so, I'm going to say pisses people off and annoys other people, but it's true. Get it done, get your life back. There's not much time because everyone thinks they have time. I went to bed last night, I was 19, woke up this morning, I'm 61. Yeah. There's no time. People think, get that girl, buy that house, rent that car, date that boyfriend, do it now. Because, that's one of the biggest things I ask people at my age. What's the one thing you regret? And everyone says the same, Eric, maybe you too. I thought I had more time. We don't. Remember the baby you were cradling last week in your arms, now going to college? Yeah? Remember that guy? That's how life goes past so quickly. Absolutely. And if you don't live in that 24 hours, I'm not talking about sobriety, I'm talking about living in that 24-hour mindset, because a couple of parts of the brain reset every 24 hours. It's not a AA or NA thing. This is a neuroscience thing. And you live in that 24 hours. What can you cram into that day? Stop putting shit off until the next day, because one day you wake up and you're 61, you've done nothing with your life because you're always gonna, when I retire, when I get this, no, do it now.
I love that, because, and I work with a lot of clients and stuff, and that's one thing I'll ask them is, what mark do you want to leave on the world?
Yeah, it's true. If you're not changing the world, what are you doing? I asked all my patients and all my sponsees, if we're not changing the world, what we're doing? Because if you're not changing the world, go drink. If you're not changing the world, go use drugs. Go do it. What are you doing? What are you getting clean and sober for? What? To sit in the same place, mumbling about the same old crap, not doing nothing with your life? This is about me when I get clean and sober. This is what I can bring to human beings around the world. How can I help you today? And everybody I've worked with have changed the world in some way. Or whatever, it's small or big, it makes no difference. But if you're not changing the world, go drink, guys. This is crazy how amazing we can be.
You guys are the luckiest people in the world, because we have enough pain, we have enough suffering that we've gone through that it slaps us in the face. We get an opportunity and we work on things that other people don't. I mean, who wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I'm going to work on my self-esteem today?
Doesn't happen, does it? We get 2 lives in one lifetime. I've already messed the first one up, not going to mess the second one up. This is what it's about, working on me, being the best person that I can be and giving away freely. I'm lucky enough, I'm a spiritual guy, so my God has blessed me with all sorts of stuff in the last, 30 years. I've been in this game 30 odd years. And I bless monetary every time I leave the house. I'm lucky enough and blessed enough to do that. I help people. I give my time. I give my money. I give the family. We have sober Sundays at the house. We employ felons. We do all these things because we can. We love what we do because we do what we love. And I think when you find that position, when you find your own niche in life, like, why am I here? I almost died because of this stuff. In actual fact, I died twice and they brought me back to life. Why am I here? Once you find that niche of why you are here, man, life is amazing. Money, look, earning $1 million is pretty easy, believe it or not. It's pretty easy. It's staying sane and staying at that level that's hard, because we've all been there, done it, but we always come down, working on yourself, being that person, being that calm, and peace between the ears. You can have all the money you want. If you've not got peace between the ears, go drink. People will be pissed off at me, Eric. Why does this guy say go drink? If you're not living your best life and helping other human beings, go drink.
You brought up relapse. Now, you had a relapse?
No. I just said when we come back from relapse.
Oh, okay.
Oh, in the early days, oh my God, there was no one worse than me. Yeah. I relapsed every single reason, because relapse is a self-sabotage behavior. Going back to trauma as a kid, trauma is the gateway drug, So I was a chronic relapser. People used to always say, "Hey, Rob, what's your trigger?" My trigger? My trigger's if it's raining, if it's sunshine, if it's how I don't care the trigger. When I get up in the morning, my brain says, drink, you can't stop me. I will stab you in the face if you try and get between me and alcohol when I'm in that mindset. So there was no triggers for me, but once I went to a 12-step group, I found out this program that I could work 100% and it would take the compulsion away to drink. So what I looked at, I wanted to look the neuroscience side of it to see if it matches with these guys that wrote that book all them years ago. And it does. It really, what these guys were saying turns out to be true with neuroscience. It's like once I redirect neural pathways away from self-sabotage, and my sabotage is alcohol and other stuff as well, but mainly alcohol, then everything starts to change and my behavior changes and everything works out to be pretty good today.
Yeah. And I know one of the things on your thing was, breaking the stigma of mental illness. And it's another thing that I've always thought about, like a duty that we can ultimately have too, is, again, society looks at us like we're pieces of shit. We'll never, we're a waste of space. But nowadays, we get an opportunity to show the world that, no, that's not who we are. We're somebody different.
100%. I love that. Yeah. We call it a mental injury because we believe you can get over it. But yeah, mental illness, mental injury. I do a lot of talking around universities, schools, colleges, churches. And I've been known in the past with a couple of churches, probably 10 or 12 churches, where the pastor and everybody's brought me in by surprise, the main members. And I've sat outside begging for money when everyone's going to church. This is part of my presentation. And people, I probably get about 60 cents or something as people put a little bit of money in, all walking past in the brand new shoes and stuff. And then what I would do is I would come on stage. The pastor would go, this guy was outside, bring him on stage. And I would start to tell my story. And you could see the people looking at me going, oh God, why is he here? And then what happens is I tell this story of how I've lost everything and, how I was outside your building and I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. And then another guy comes, I go off and I get changed into our scrubs, and the guy introduced me and I come on as a doctor, Robb Kelly, with all the books and movies and everything I've done. And people are astounded. And I go, this is the real me, but you walked past me an hour ago and we're all supposed to be God people. That was me outside begging with no shoes and, it was all like a put on, but it shows you that, people still treat the alcoholic or addict with disdain. You could see the look of disdain on their face when they pass you. And that was me, but this is me now. And no matter where you are in the world, no matter what kind of society standard you have, whether it be poor or rich, alcoholism is there. So when you walk past someone who's trying to recover from alcoholism and begging on the streets, one day your son might be asking him for help because he's going through this shit. So you never know. It's the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. And the other thing is, once we get well, we can help these people. We really can. So you never know who you're looking at. People used to spit on me. They used to throw soiled diapers at me when I was unconscious on the floor because I drank myself to almost to death. And today I help people like that. So, let's bring it out the closet. It's what I've been trying to do for Think of being American now for 15 years. It's bring it out the closet. It's not a dirty illness. It's not too embarrassing. And the most important thing that you need to know from me as a doctor is this: it's not a choice. Don't ever think an alcoholic or addict has a choice once they've passed that threshold. They don't. It's been taken away. So when you bring it out, help more people start talking about it more.
Obviously the start of it's a choice, that I choose to do it, but who the hell chooses addiction?
No.
That's insane.
Nobody in the right mind.
Yeah.
Let's get this morning. You know what? I'm going to get up this morning, hate everybody, try and kill everybody, and drink myself to death. This just doesn't happen. And this is where we get into the neuroscience of it. Is you've got to look: is this hereditary? Does it go back generations? If I drink, I always end up like this. Well, alcoholics do, and drug addicts do from hereditary, a predisposition passed down. Other people can drink like crazy, come out of it, go to work next day, stop drinking, whatever. People who take drugs, party every night, blah, blah, blah. When they get a serious job, they stop taking it. But then the people like me and you can't do that.
Everything we do for a reason, right? And so when we go out and we do drugs or we do alcohol or it works. Whatever it is that we're trying to get from it.
Yes.
Whether it alleviates depression or it allows me to not have to deal with the trauma that I went through in my life. And it seems to solve the problem. So it becomes our solution. Other people find works or, other compulsive behaviors, and that becomes our solution. And obviously, eventually it stops working. And so I think that's a big part to it is trying to figure out what that is, maybe, that we need to ultimately work on, deal with, whether it be emotional, our emotional issues, self-esteem.
So all these parts of the brain is affected by alcoholism and addiction. So the insula, the anterior cingulate cortex, all the depression, all the feeling bad, never good enough, never going to fit in. It's all part of the brain. It's not something that I've devised. I'm not good enough. I can. Trauma and the way the brain reacts to trauma. Then we go into the drinking and using. So we come feeling a piece of crap that we're never going to amount to anything. We're never going to be anybody, And if you're sat at home listening to this right now and you're feeling you're not good enough, you're never going to be amount to anything, you're a piece of crap, no one cares, I want to apologize to you because somebody's put that there. It's learned behavior passed down from generation. So we put 1,000 fleas as an experiment into a big mason jar, huge mason jar, and we screwed the top on and we punched holes in the top. We left it for 3 days. When we come back to the 1,000 fleas, who can jump 3 and 4 feet in the air, as we know, and we took the top off the mason jar, not one flea jumped higher than where the lid was, okay? That's interesting, but what's even more interesting is when they had babies inside that jar, the babies who had never seen the lid would not jump higher than where the lid was. Learned behavior. So if our parents were drunks and violent in the house, that's what you will grow up to be. And somebody who's come out of a traumatic, alcoholic, dysfunctional house where dad hits mom and all sorts of craziness, they go out into a relationship, that's the people they're attracted to because it's the norm, it's the core belief and learned behavior. So when that girl coming out as a teens and 20s comes out and starts living on her own, she will attract with energy the kind of person that her dad was. And what happens if she goes into a relationship and the guy is a decent guy, never don't believe in violence or anything, she will self-sabotage that behavior because it feels uncomfortable. That's the craziness part of the trauma. We go back to where we think is our comfort zone, back to the violence, back to the alcoholism, back to the dysfunction because it's comfortable for us. And part of the programs that we work around the world take us in to live a normal life. But then we become extraordinary with the way our thinking, our work on ourselves that we can pass to others.
I've been in the industry for 20 years now, and I love doing these shows because I learn things all the time. I know hopefully our listeners do, but I am a student always. What is brain spotting?
Brain spotting is a recent, over 5, 6, 7 years, it came out. It's a bit like EMDR. Is when you're following with your eyes. But what brain spotting is, doesn't use lights to distract you. It's a direct input from the pupil down the cord into the subconscious brain. So basically what you're doing through flickers of the eyes, you're looking for traumatic events that are subconscious. So if you come to me, you go, okay, I had this, I had that, I had create a plane accident, blah, blah, blah. What this does is it goes back and it finds the traumatic incidents in your life through flickering of eyes and other signs to look for, so you can actually bring it out of the patient. You can bring that out, and that's what we can look at. Because a lot of people think that there's the eye and there's the brain and there's the optical cord. No, that's not true. And you can Google this, guys, if you think I'm crazy. The eye is part of the brain. What happens when we were forming over the generations and generations and hundreds and thousands of years, what happens is the brain got bulged in the head and the eyes came out of the socket and then we're here. That's how we developed. It's part of the brain. So once you get into the brain at the front, eyes, pupil, you can search into the back of the brain and bring all that trauma out. Unbelievable. Phenomenal results we've had with that.
You know, I grew up I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. So I grew up in a family where I did not see substance abuse. I could look back at, sure, my grandfather, never met him in my life, apparently had an alcohol problem. As far as trauma, now there's certain things that I think happened that I'm not sure. I don't fully remember, although I do have some experiences with him that were weird, where, he's talking about orgies and cocaine and doing all this kind of stuff, which you normally don't talk with juvenile. What are your thoughts on that?
Traumatic events are usually blocked away because we can't handle them at the time, so they're stored away in certain parts of the brain. We very rarely go back and pick them apart. So trauma 10, 15 years ago was a plane crash, a divorce, a car crash, a beating up at school. But as we go further on into addiction and look at the subconscious brain, is trauma needs to be picked apart completely. So what's traumatic to me as an alcoholic is not traumatic to the guy next door. Okay, so here's how to define real quick in layman's terms. Me and my brother are stood on the kitchen table. We're both 9 or 10 years old. My mom walks into the kitchen and she says, "Guys, will you get down off that table? Get down, you stupid idiots, get down." My brother jumps off the table laughing and I freeze. And this is where it gets real interesting. I freeze because what I've heard, "Get out of that table, you stupid idiot." That's trauma. So we're both obviously brothers. So where's the trauma come from? Then we go back. The complication of that addiction passed down from generation to generation is we really have to understand the trauma. We have to understand how it affects us. Alcoholics and addicts are usually on a high performance wire all the time. They're on edge. They listen to things. We hear things differently. Alcoholics will tell you this. And we're on that high all the time of nervousness, any movement. And after a long time, it starts to get wary, and we're on this full alert all the time. The brain is on full alert. Parts of the brain is on full alert all the time. The amygdala, which kind of a smoke alarm for the whole of the brain, is actually ping, 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 ping of all these things that are happening. So we're in that state. There's only two ways to get rid of that feeling and the trauma on a daily basis. And one is to get well and get help, or the other is to drink. And 9 out of 10 times people are going to take a drink and it calms everything down. And we'll take to another level where we can breathe again. Next day and wake up, we're back again. The alarm bells are going up. That's trauma. We did studies of, and it just happened to be a woman with a wife, but a housewife living in a dysfunctional alcoholic home where there's violence whenever father gets drunk. We did tests pertaining to the brain being lit up with trauma and guys coming back from Afghanistan. Now, thank you to our service guys. We love you. Thank you for your service. Let's put that aside for a second. The brain signals and the traumatic events, therefore effects on the brain, were identical from the guy coming back from war and the woman in an alcoholic, dysfunctional, violent house. Both didn't know when it was going to be the last day. They're both walking around on eggshells every day. Never know it's going to kick off. That's trauma. Both of them suffering from trauma, but you wouldn't think of it at the time. So when you look at trauma as a whole, you've really got to pick it apart.
Yeah. I love that because, a lot of it has to do with perception. The way one person sees something is different than another person.
I love that. I love that word, perception, Eric. You hit the, because this is a famous saying, but what is perception? Well, if I told you to put your hand on a hot flame for 5 minutes, it's going to seem like an hour. But if I told you to sit with a really pretty woman for an hour, it's going to feel like 5 minutes. So the perspective is all there of what we actually think, how we feel. So then again, trauma's involved with that. I can't today sit around or watch a movie or anything where there's a baby crying. That to me is huge trauma, because when my kids were taken off me, the ages 1 and 3, because I was too drunk and I'd left them alone while I was drinking for like 2 or 3 days, no food, no diapers, nothing, nearly killed them. When I woke up, they were crying. So a crying of a baby on a movie, I have to turn it off. It's too much trauma for me. And the guy next door to me is thinking, what you do? What's wrong with you? Are you crazy? It's trauma that I have that will probably never go away despite how much work I do on it. So once you recognize the trauma, once you uncover, discover, and discard of the trauma, you will always suffer from that, always suffer from it. And the idea is to box all that up, to get it dealt with, and to get rid of it as quick as possible. Then we can start to look at life differently again.
Yeah. I wrote a book, I was mentioning that pain, failure, and misery are the stepping stones to success. And it was very interesting for me because I really got to analyze my life, and I started really seeing things that I never really realized, before. We moved a lot as a kid, moving from one location to another. I was probably an oversensitive individual. I like what you had said, that really anxiety type, person. I also think I dealt with depression. I also think, and again, there's a situation with my uncle because as a young child, I got so heavy into masturbation. That was extreme. I like what you said. I should probably do therapy with you.
Yeah.
I always think that even though, those of us in this field, we probably need still a lot of therapy,
I see a therapist every week, without fail, because I think you can't do this yourself. You can't deal with something yourself because we can't be our own yardstick. We can't be our own measuring stick. There has to be somebody else that corrects us and go, no, that's wrong, because it's crazy. It's insane to think that you can correct your brain by telling them how to do something. It's not going to happen. Most of the trauma and drinking is done on a knee-jerk reaction. Alcoholism and addiction as a whole sits in the subconscious brain. So I don't know when I'm going to relapse. You don't. That's the kind of stuff in the early days. Once we obviously change the way we think, we rewire the brain and the central nervous system, then we can cope. Before that, we have no idea when we're going to relapse. Probably this afternoon. I don't know. That's how crazy it is. And once we set everything into perspective, like you said, and have the tools today to deal with that, then you have to live a successful life. I will not accept anything less from my sponsees and patients than them living the dream and living this amazing life. It's just, like I say, again, I'm sorry to say it, guys, go drink if you're not going to do this. This is not about the alcohol. This is not about the drugs. What's an alcoholic? Someone who drinks too much alcohol. Not the truth. Not the truth. 1%, remember, 1%. It's got nothing to do, hardly nothing to do with the disease. It's all about self-sabotage, trauma, and how Rob hates Rob because of everything that's happened in the past. Because people the most hurtful tool I can see around me is my tongue. When I was drinking, I could take somebody down in seconds. No need to do that. Once I get myself sorted out, then I'm careful how I speak. Because there's a couple of things you can't do. And one of it is once it's released out the mouth, you can't take that back. And you can damage a lot of people. I can ruin someone's day in seconds, But why would we do that? And once that change happens, it's beautiful.
I had 11 years clean and sober back in 2013. Completely lost my passion. I went from, that, and I literally described the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, because I literally went from confident, had a certain love for myself, respected myself. I'd give you the shirt off my back. And I made the craziest decision to take a hit off a pipe of meth. And I instantly went from, I don't give a fuck about you. I will rob from you. I will steal from you. Instantaneously. There's a lot of shame, obviously, that comes, and, you're going back to rehab. During those 11 years, I worked in the field. I was counselor, program director, clinical director, owned a program. People go like, damn, wouldn't you know? But I look at it today and I'm actually grateful for the experience because I got to see the power, behind that transformation so blatantly that a lot of people don't see it like that.
Yeah.
Um, and it was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, unrecognizable, I would say, from what we were to what we are today. But the thing is about our last relapse and our horrible life, we think it's horrible, is our horrible life becomes the greatest asset going forward. Because you go, what do you know, Eric? What do you know? What do you know? I've seen your car, I've seen your house, I've seen you on. You don't know about anything about homelessness. And we go, sit down, let me talk to you about that. And we go, what? You were homeless? Yeah. You have to do this. If I wasn't homeless, then how could I sit down with somebody who was and say, hey, listen, I know how you feel. I have no idea how you felt unless I've been there. And I think when alcoholics and addicts start to get well, the greatest asset moving forward, and it's known that one alcoholic to another, that's where the power is. Because I'm looking for a pair. I'm looking for a way out. And I need to find somebody who's already been there, done it, and knows the way out. And there's millions of us around. Can you imagine being dropped in India or China somewhere, and you ask somebody for directions, and the guy goes, well, do you know where Johnson Street is? Well, I think it's down there, turn left. I've never been there, but I've heard it's over on the left somewhere. You're not going to get there. You pull up against somebody else, Johnson Street. Oh, yeah, I've been there. I know exactly where it is. You're going to get to Johnson Street. It's the same thing in recovery. If you're taking bullshit off somebody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, you're going to relapse and maybe die. So it's really important that we pick our sponsors, our mentors, our therapists, our doctors. We do it for us because it's our lives. This is your life we're talking about, and sometimes we put it in care. It's like, I'm not condoning but let's put it this way. I get depressed. What's the first thing I do? I tell my friend, I feel really depressed. He goes, hey, have you seen a doctor? No. I'll go and see him. I go and see a doctor and he prescribes me an SSR, which is a slow release serotonin. I take that in a few weeks. I feel as good as ever. I'm back to normal. Okay. That's all well and good, but why aren't we asking the question, why the fuck is your serotonin low in the first place? Why is your serotonin low? I mean, there's 4 good feel chemicals we need every single day. Endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. If you've not got all them flowing, you're going to be depressed. Why are you not getting that? But we don't. We follow like sheep, and it all starts. I can categorically tell you that about 90%, maybe higher, but let's be conservative on this, 90% of people that come to us with a heroin addiction started in the doctor's office. And that's why I kind of show disdain and a little bit anger when I say that, because there's no need for it. There's no need for it. There are certain people who need to take because of chemicals imbalance. I get that, guys, but that's not everybody. Start living a good life. Start acting like you're amazing. Start, getting into recovery. Start seeing a therapist and start living the best way you can today. Remember, you don't have time. Do it today, and your life will get better and better and better, because we weren't meant as alcohol. This is my belief and my opinion from my 30 odd years of being in recovery, is we were always meant to suffer to go on to do great things. I mean, I've tried to put it down to coincidence. I've tried to go where? No, it's a bullshit. I'm 61. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to say it how it is. We're put through this shit in our lives so we can go on and help other people. It's like I always say my homelessness, 14 months I was on the streets begging, or died twice on the streets, on the benches, in doorways. That's how I slept, There was a reason for that. And when I look back now, the loss of my kids and everything, the loss, it's like a semester at Harvard University. The stuff I learned from that stuff was phenomenal going forward to help other people. That's the magic. Every alcoholic and addict that's got well, we have been chosen to do. Not a lot of people make it, guys, because you can't rely on the statistics. You go, hey, let's, alcoholism, to 10%. No, we've been at hospital doors checking people in on Friday and Saturday night in Richardson, Dallas, Texas. 90% of people came through that door was high on drugs or wasted on alcohol. There were 12 deaths one night. All of them 12 deaths went down as accident, liver failure, left frying pan on the, all alcoholics and addicts who die, but not one of them was put down as alcoholic death or drug addiction or overdose. It's put down as other things. So we can't rely on the numbers that we're hearing. Everybody knows somebody who has a problem with alcohol and drugs. And if you don't, it's probably you.
I wanted to say, man, you're a beautiful man, you know? I like what you do. You've got a great message. I do want to ask real quick too, and obviously I've done studies on this, but neuro-linguistic programming.
NLP is one of the best tools around, especially for people in addiction, but people with trauma or want to save their life. So before I tell you of my opinion on that, let me give you a little backstory that I hope will make people smile. My eldest daughter, Charlotte, her name is, call her Charlie, was taken off when she was 3 years old. The police and the authorities took her from my arms. I was served with unfit father papers. She said 3 things to me as she walked away. She's like this with mummy, don't forget, she's only a little tot. And she walked down the path and she said, Daddy, Daddy, please don't go. And halfway down the path, she said, Daddy, Daddy, please get better. And as she got to this big gate, because we used to be very wealthy, opened the big gate and she turned around one more time, almost 26, 28, 30 years ago, and said, Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking. Okay? That's the name of the book because of that. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'm horrible on time, we're estranged. Never seen her, don't know where she is. Tried to get in contact, no answer for years and years and years and years. Get a message on Messenger. Hey, Dad, this is Charlie. 3 o'clock in the morning here. It's 9 o'clock or something in England. Ting, opened the phone. I looked at it. I woke my wife up. I said, Charlie. And I freaked out and I was crying and she said, I want to see you, Dad. So I texted back, oh my God. Anyway, we jumped on a plane and we went back. And when I got to the house, I was so nervous, man. You'll know this, Eric. The shame of not being there for a first boyfriend, a first bike ride, all that stuff came up. And it was just the worst thing. But I knew God had me there, and we opened the door and we hugged and we cried. And I thought that was the best thing ever. And then she walked me into her living room and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter. That girl said, Dad, I want to do what you do. So we sent her back to college, university, and she studied neuro-linguistic programming. And she, as 2 years ago, opened my Manchester office as my lead NLP therapist. So that's a great story behind that. But let me tell you, NLP is phenomenal. You can literally rewire brains. Their neuroplasticity, we can rewire, we can remold the brain. Medical fraternity only really conquered this 10 years ago, whereas we've known it, a lot of people have known it, millions of people have known it for years. But that's what she does. She changes the way people think. She rewires, redirects self-sabotaging neural pathways and creates positive neural pathways for future. So these are the tools we use: NLP, psychology, brain spotting, somatic experience, and psychology and behavioral science. That's what we use. That's our program, using all them things. And we think we are the lead. Well, we don't think, we know we are the leaders in the industry. We're very quiet. We tend to deal with a lot of, affluent, famous people because we like to keep it underground. We've worked with over 8,000 people, but yeah, they're the tools we use. It's phenomenal. That's the key. The key is that the trauma, it's not the alcohol and drugs, so the bad news or the trauma. Get back to the trauma, sort it out, get on with your life. Everybody can recover. Everybody who's miserable can recover. Everybody who has depression can recover. Everyone that has all these illnesses that we carry around is bullshit, okay? There's a way to get rid of all of that, and one of the main keys, like you said, Eric, was NLP.
Yeah, we got doctors just creating all kinds of new problems that people have. And so much of it is bullshit.
I think look, here's the deal. If you think you can fix drug addiction with a drug, go have it. Go and try that deal, but I tell you now, it doesn't work. It's like me as an alcoholic saying, well, I'll tell you what, don't give me that vodka, just give me that beer. I'll be okay. You're not going to be okay, Second question, anybody regarding your health, especially in America, everyone wants to give you a pill. The pharmaceutical companies run this country. So don't always be hoodwinked into some of these things that they want you to do. Get a second opinion always. Psychiatrists, God bless them, first of all. Thank you for what you do. But they have 3 minutes per patient, okay? So if you're not thinking properly, they're going to stack you with Adderall. That's what they do. They don't want to do that. They don't have time. They have 600 patients to see that day. You're not going to get a look in. So just be careful. Treat everything with a second thought, you know?
All they're treating is symptoms.
Exactly. They're not, and that's another thing we do. The problem needs to be looked at, not the symptom. Alcohol, drugs, Adderall, symptom. What's the problem? What's the cause and conditions of what I'm suffering from, regardless of addiction? What's the cause and conditions? How did I get there? Why is my brain wired for self-sabotage? And how do I get out of this situation? And everybody can recover. Everybody, unless you've got serious brain damage or Winnicott disease or something like that, you can recover. I'm looking at my board now over there. I only take on 4 patients at any one time. 3 of those patients are not even alcoholic addicts. They're trauma sufferers. They want to better their lives. Their career has crashed because of self-sabotage. So it's all about helping. It's all about moving forward and being excited about this shit. I'm excited now about recovery as the first day I walked in when I started this deal, because it's exciting seeing people change, get their life back, getting their wife back, kids back. I guarantee people when they come in, you want your kids back? We'll get them back. Well, what do you mean? We'll get them back. That's how we're going to rewire your brain. And don't worry about the apartment. We'll pay for that for 12 months for it. Don't worry about a little car. Oh, you want a suit for an interview? We got you. We personally gave $150,000, me and my wife, every year to people who need this stuff. People who get in their lives back. One parent family need to go to family court. We'll pay for that stuff. We'll buy you an attorney that's going to work for you. If you really, really want to get well, you can get well. And that's why God has given me money and all this stuff is to give to other people. This is not my money. Hey, listen, guys, if you're at home thinking, I gotta say, if money makes you happy, I got some fucking bad news for you. It doesn't, okay? It does not make you happy. As people say all the time, oh, look at him, now he's rich, he's a dick. No, he was always a dick. Money doesn't change you, it just emphasizes who you are. So if you're a kind guy, want to give back, when you get money, you'll give it away just like we do. It's a beautiful feeling. I can sleep well at nighttime as well.
I see, money, for people that think that money brings them happiness, it brings fear, what it does. I always like to teach that, appreciation, right? Appreciation, the strongest outbound form of love, the idea of giving of everything and asking for nothing. And they've defined that your mind cannot be in the state of fear and appreciation at the same time.
Yeah, beautiful. I like that. I love that.
Appreciation is the antidote to fear.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that, Eric.
Hey, I want to thank you for doing this. I want to ask you, and I ask everybody this, if you were to give a message to those that are suffering, what would you say?
First of all, everything's temporary, by the way, okay? Everything's temporary. This too will pass. I hated that saying, but it's true, unfortunately. So everything's temporary. Nothing lasts forever, okay? So everything's going to come and go, so don't worry about it. But I want to say something real nice. I hope it's nice anyway. If you're sat at home and you think you're not up to anything, you can't do anything, you've been pushed down, everyone thinks you're a piece of shit. First of all, again, I want to apologize to you. Someone's put that there. But secondly, I would rather talk to you for 10 minutes than hear of your funeral. Okay? So if you're in that place where you feel as if you're not going anywhere, you feel as if suicide's around the corner, this phone number, which is my personal phone number, is for you. 214-600-0210. It's not my office, not my assistant, it's me. Okay? And don't think you can't call me as well. I'm the guy that sold his kids out for alcohol and stabbed his wife 3 times one night. Remember? That's me. So don't ever think you can't call me. You text me first of all, and if I'm with a patient, I'll text you back, but I will call you. And me and you are going to have a pep talk that will change your fucking life. And you know, if it doesn't, I'll send you $100 for your time. I've never sent anybody $100 to this date, but it's up for offer. What I'm trying to say is I'm still in the trenches, despite what you see on TV, the books and all that shit that keeps my wife happy and pays the mortgage. Me and you are in this together. So if you're listening to this message, guy, you was always meant to listen to this message and hear me talking to you, sat at home, to call me to get this shit started.
I love that. And I'll post your phone number up on this. So
brilliant.
But man, you're amazing. That's awesome.
Bang.
So, hey, man, I really do. I want to thank you for doing this. You got a lot of great information. You obviously got a big heart, and you're obviously doing this for the right reasons.
Yes, I like to think so. I think when we keep that strong heart, when we know where we belong, where we really remember where we've been to, this at the end of the day, and I hate the Beatles. I don't hate them, so I don't like the music. But they talk about love being everything. It's all we need, and I truly believe it is. I think the more we love each other, the better life gets. Because without that, what are we? We're just guys sat in our own doing shit. Remember one thing, guys. I want to leave you with this: if you're not changing the world, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for tuning into another episode of High Wall Clean. And as I always like to say, let's keep getting high, but let's do it clean.